Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cribs and Ribs with Steve Wickett. This is going to be the first of a series of barbecue for beginners videos. We're going to be smoking some chicken thighs. And I'm going to take you through the whole process of brining the chicken to enhance the flavor and texture, all the way through trimming and seasoning the thighs, and then we're going to smoke and glaze those bad boys, and I'm going to show you how to make great barbecue from home on an electric smoker. For our brine today, we have about 10 chicken thighs. So I'm starting out with about 10 cups of water. For sugar and salt, got a little under half a cup each in this bowl here. We're going to go ahead and mix that in. And for our aromatics, we're not going to go crazy, because remember, this chicken is going to be seasoned and smoked, and then it's going to have sauce all over it. So if you go too crazy with the aromatics, you might just be doing yourself a disservice there. So we're going to use a couple of cloves. Got an orange peel, a little sprig of rosemary from my yard there, and we've got a handful of peppercorns. I'm going to toss that in there. And we got to just kind of stir it up until, you know, the sugar and salt completely dissolve and that liquid gets clear. Also for this brine, to enhance the flavor of the chicken, I'm going to add a few cubes of this chicken bouillon here. So the sugar and salt are pretty much dissolved. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit while we let those chicken cubes dissolve. Now, one of the important things you need to remember about brine and chicken, or any other sort of poultry, or any meat for that matter, is you don't want to add the meat to the brine while it's hot or even warm, or that's going to start the cooking process and throw off your whole thing. So you want to either let it cool, or what I do at this point is I start with less water than I need, and then after the brine is done dissolving all of its ingredients together, I put a bunch of ice in there to bring it down to temperature. And then that way it's a better way to go if you're in a little bit of a hurry. Now those chicken bouillon cubes are dissolved. The brine's pretty much ready to go, other than the fact that we need to bring that down to temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heat and get some ice in there. Now when you're doing this, be careful not to splash yourself with boiling water, everybody. Just drop them in nice and close to the top of the pot of the liquid there. Don't drop it from too far away, or that's where you're going to get splashed. I'm just going to keep putting ice in there. All right, let's stir this up and let that ice melt and see where we're at temperature-wise. I don't want to dilute it too much, so if it gets to a point to where I put in as much ice as I can, you know, without diluting it any more than I want, then I'm just going to have to sit and wait for it to cool the rest of the way. But all right, I think this is actually going to get us there. Now that you've got those thighs in the brine, I'm going to show you how to trim and season your chicken, and then all the way through the smoking process. But first, we got to pay some bills. Hey, are you thinking of moving to Las Vegas and buying a home? Well, I was born here, and I want to be one of the first people to tell you that Vegas is a great town, and there are a lot of advantages to living here. First, the tax benefits are outstanding, as we have no state income tax. You hear that, California? How about you, Arizona? How about you out there on the East Coast? Did you hear that? No state income tax. All of you fans of glam and the nightlife, the lights of the Vegas Strip are intoxicating. And before COVID, Las Vegas boasted of the best shopping and dining in the world. And if you're waiting to see how we bounce back, I can promise you that you haven't seen anything yet. Vegas Strong is far more than just a hashtag, it's a way of life. And we are home to the UFC and have some of the toughest names in team sports with the Las Vegas Raiders and the Golden Knights. Maybe you're the outdoorsy type. Southern Nevada is a place of beauty. We are surrounded by national parks and wildlife preserves. It's nice and warm here, you'll never have to shovel snow again. And if you think the summers are too hot, well, we are right in between the cool waters of Lake Mead and the crisp, clean air of Mount Charleston. So if you're considering a move to Las Vegas, I would love to help you find your new home. Or if you already live here and you'd like to buy or sell, please give me the opportunity to show you what I can do. Call, text, or email, and we will chat soon. And check me out on YouTube. The name of the channel is Cribs and Ribs. Trimming these thighs up really isn't a big deal, everybody. Here's what they should look like when you're finished. You're basically taking all the extra skin and pockets of fat away from the outside, and then if you turn it underneath, any tendons or again, pockets of fat or anything that would be unpleasant, you're going to take out of there. This one's finished, but let me go ahead and show you how to get one done here, everybody. So again, you can see there's going to be a lot of extra skin and pockets of fat around the thigh. We're basically just going to slice those off. Get a nice sharp knife, everybody. It'll make it nice and easy for you. This isn't the greatest knife in the world. I have to sharpen it pretty often. Just pull those away from the meat there. And once you get that little flap exposed, just take your nice sharp knife and you can slice that right off. Again, I'm just taking my thumb here and pulling those stuck on pieces away from the meat, exposing that extra, and then slicing it off. See that? If you look at that from the top side, it's already getting there. Still got a little bit more to go. As you can see, there's a lot of fat right there in that skin, so we're going to take that off. Now, fat, of course, is good when it's marbled into the meat like it is in here. But when you have those big pockets on the skin and somebody just gets a big bite of fat right off the bat, it's going to be a little unpleasant there. So you can see we've got a little bit more there. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. And everybody, this is a video for beginners. So if you guys want to see any instruction on how to sharpen your knives right, or anything like that I'm not covering in this video, leave a comment below and I'll try to get some content out to you. All right, we're also looking for any little tendons in here with these chicken thighs. There's one or two little guys that you'll almost always find in there. Gonna get that out of there. Let's see. This little nugget's kind of gristly. We're gonna go ahead and take that off too. Oh, exposing a little more fat. We'll go ahead and get that too while we're at it. All right, and so you can see I've got my nice thin layer of skin. I did end up taking off a little bit more than I intended to up here. But other than that, this one's looking pretty good, everybody. Since I took off a little more skin with this one, let me do another one here for you. Let's get that little guy off of there. So with this one again, you can see we've got some nice extra pockets of fat that we're going to expose. Some nice extra flaps of skin that we don't need. We're going to take that off. And any of these little hang-on pieces you can go ahead and take off too, because they're just going to overcook while the rest of your chicken's going nice and slow and low. So as you can see, got a nice clean chicken thigh. Nice thin skin going uniform all over it. All right, and underneath it looks pretty good too. Again, just see if you can pinch off some of these extra pieces of fat. Nobody wants a mouthful of chicken fat, especially because that's the first place they're going to bite is right there anyways. Ta-da! It's almost time to put the chicken in the smoker. Right now I've got the smoker turned on, it's getting up to temperature, and I've got some wood chips here soaking in water to prep those for the process. We're using hickory wood today, which is actually a nice strong wood. Traditionally you would use this for brisket, you'd use this for pork butt. Today we're using it for chicken, but you could definitely get away with using a wood that's less strong. Something like a fruit wood, like apple, peach. Pecan's also a great wood to use for almost anything. And also you're gonna wanna get a couple of these smoke boxes, everybody. These you put right at the bottom of your smoker in the heating element. It gets the wood chips up to temperature, and the holes at the top here, as you can see, will allow that smoke to come through the box and properly smoke your food. Barbecue is all about creating a flavor profile with different layers. So we've got our base layer of flavors, and then the 3 seasonings towards the bottom are gonna create more of those nuances, which are gonna give you your top layer of flavor. And at first, I'll show you how to make a great rub for grilled chicken, but then we're gonna adjust it for the smoker. We start out with natural sea salt, freshly cracked black pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. And for our top end layers of flavor, we're gonna use ground fennel, ground mustard, and a barbecue must with paprika. But first, let's go ahead and start out with some natural sea salt. I eyeball this. So the first thing I do is I gauge about how much salt I'm going to need for the amount of food that I have. I've got 10 chicken thighs as well as about 5 legs that I've had in the freezer. I've got those thawed out, and I'm going to go ahead and toss those in the smoker while I'm at it. So I start with about this much salt here, and then I use about half as much for all the other ingredients. So we're going to start out with our garlic to give us a nice bite. The onion powder adds some richness. For our top end ingredients, we're going to do some ground fennel for herbaceousness, some mustard for a little bit of tanginess, and that barbecue must paprika. Also gives it a great color. Now the cracked black pepper might take a little extra time, but trust me, it's well worth it. This is going to give you much better results than using already ground pepper. Now we'll just whisk this together real nice. Now this is going to be great for chicken on the grill, but right now I'm adding a little bit of brown sugar. This I'm going to do only for the smoker. You don't want to add sugar to your rub if you're going to grill your chicken over open flame, because all that's going to do is burn the sugar, and you're going to end up with a burnt, unpleasant black layer on top of the food that you work so hard to prepare. So it's time to season the chicken. I've taken it out of the brine, and we put it on a baking rack and a cookie sheet here to kind of let it drain off some. I'm also going to take some paper towels here and just pat dry the top here, or I guess this would be the bottom side. We're going to do that first. Make sure you start with the skin side down, just to kind of dry that off a little bit. Just for ease of use, that seasoning that we just made, went ahead and put that into a spare shaker that I saved. So we're going to just give this all a nice little coat of seasoning here. So we're going to let this sit after we get everything coated here, and we're going to let it sweat. And basically what that means is the moisture on the chicken is going to be drawn out by the salt and the rub. And as that starts to happen, it's going to replace the moisture in the chicken with the rub, thus seasoning the chicken. And we're going to do the same thing here. On the skin side here, you could even be just a little more generous with the seasoning than you were on that underneath side. Also, while we let these sweat, we're going to be letting it sit on the counter to do just that, and let these bad boys get up to about room temperature before we throw these on the smoker. You get the best results that way. All right, so we're ready to put our first smoker box on, everybody. I've got this filled with the soaked hickory chips. We're going to go ahead and put this into our Brinkmann Gourmet Red Electric Smoker. This is what we'll be using for the smoke here today. Now it's real important to remember you have to keep your temperature as best as you possibly can. So with this Brinkmann Gourmet Electric Smoker here, what we can do is we can turn around the unit The whole thing basically, except for the base of it, which contains the heating element. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep the whole thing together and put the access port over on the back side. So then you could just pop that door open and slide the smoker box right on top of that heating element. Be real careful not to burn yourself here, everybody. All right, then we'll close that door and we'll turn it back around. And then that way we can load the second box in through the front end. Now what I'm going to do here is set my timer for about 40 minutes. And then I'm going to add the second smoker box. And then that way I'm sure that when this thing starts smoking, I get at least a good hour of smoke on that chicken. I'll probably get longer, but I only really want a good solid hour. So I can wait until this really starts smoking good, put the chicken on, and with those 2 smoker boxes in there, I know I'm going to be set as far as smoke goes. I'm going to go ahead and add this second smoker box full of soaked chips to the unit. Be real careful you don't burn yourself, everybody, but just set that right in there on top of the heating element. And again, we are not even getting any smoke from the first one. But by the time the first one burns out, the second one should be going. And again, we'll be able to get a good hour, maybe a little bit more smoke on that chicken. From here, you're going to transfer your chicken into a disposable aluminum pan, which can go right on the smoker. All right, everybody. So this thing's smoking pretty good here. I'm going to go on ahead and toss this in the smoker. Now, as you can see, my smoker, there's 2 levels here as far as racks go. I'm putting this on the bottom rack, everybody. And underneath that, there's a water pan, which I kind of mimicked a little bit of the brine in the water pan. I added orange peel and clove. And that water pan is going to keep everything nice and moist and keep it from drying out in there as it cooks. All right, so the chicken's on the smoker. Remember this phrase, everybody. If you're looking, you ain't cooking. Leave that lid on there. Do not look under that lid. I'm going to let this go for about 60 minutes. I'm going to set the timer when I get inside. At that point, I'm going to finish it off, covered in foil in the oven, and then we're just going to glaze it with some barbecue sauce, and it's going to be ready to go. All right, everyone, so as you can see, the smoke is still going, but I've had this in here getting nice and smoky for an hour, maybe a couple minutes more. So I'm going to go ahead and take this pan out and put it on a cookie sheet. We're going to cover it in foil, and then we're going to put it in the oven for about another hour and 15 minutes till it comes up to temperature. Let's get a look at what it's looking like. So if you take a look at that, you can see it definitely picked up a little bit of that smoke flavor. And around that, I had a few extra chicken legs that I went ahead and decided to toss in as well. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this out and we'll throw it in the oven. Before I put the foil on these, we're going to add just a little bit of margarine to the top of each one of these. I don't like to use butter because all that cream just kind of discolors the chicken a little bit. It just doesn't come out as good as you would think, but margarine actually works out real good for this purpose. And this is just going to give it a nice silky texture when it's finished. You can cover this up with pretty much any kind of foil will do. Now you'll see a lot of barbecue guys that'll finish this off back on the smoker, and they're still covering it with foil. By the time you put the foil on this, it's not getting any more smoke. The reason I like to finish it off in the oven is because you have a little bit more control over the temperature. The smoker cooks at about 230 degrees, and there's really not much I can do about that. But the oven, I can go ahead and bump up the temperature. I've got it 310. And we're going to put this back in for probably about another hour and 15 minutes till it comes up to about 165. All right, everybody, so I was going to leave this in the oven for another hour or so, but I checked the temperature after about 30 minutes, and this is ready to go. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just glaze it, and I'm going to throw it in the oven and just let that sauce caramelize onto the chicken. It should take about 10 minutes, and this is going to be ready to eat. Look at the color on that. From the glaze as well as from that nice smoke. Again, I had a few extra legs I just tossed in as well, so we're going to give them the same love and respect as we are these chicken thighs. All right, everyone, so the chicken's ready to take out of the oven. Let's get a good look at this. Oh, yeah. Nice golden brown color. Barbecue sauce is glazed on there perfectly. Of course, the true test is going to be in the taste. Got my good friend Mike Johnson here, who I've known for most of my life. He's a barbecue connoisseur. We're going to let him try some of my chicken here and see what he thinks.
Oh yeah.
Let's let this one be the culprit right here. I'm going to cut some of that up there for you, Mike. Oops. Where did I just put my knife? There we go. All right, let's cut into it and get a look at this bad boy. All right. See what you think there, Mike.
That is good. Nice and tangy. Got a good smoke flavor, but it's not like overwhelming. That's, I think, probably 9 out of 10 on that one.
All right.
Good.
I'll take a 9 out of 10, everybody. And again, if you want to try this chicken or taste any of my other recipes, don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell so you won't miss any of my future content. But this is my son, Eli. Eli wants to taste the chicken and show you how delicious his dad's cooking is. Go ahead and try that, Eli, and we'll see what you think.
It's fantastic, but not too smoky and not that spicy. It's fantastic.
Thank you, buddy.